Hey, it's Rebecca. Welcome to Returning, a podcast to return to yourself and the wisdom within. I'm so glad you're here with me. Thanks for returning. Today, I am giving you a permission slip that it is okay to give up on healing a relationship. In this really short episode, I'm sharing my thoughts on a conversation I've been having a lot lately with my friends around how impossible it is to do the healing on behalf of other people in a relationship, whether that's in a friendship or a romantic relationship, might be within a family system or a work environment. Regardless, I want you to know that it is okay to give up on healing a relationship if and when the other person just isn't interested or willing or able to meet you in the middle. This might seem so obvious to some people, but it's really been a huge aha moment for me, actually, several times along my journey. I think it's one of those ones that we keep deepening our understanding of. We know we can't change another person, but it does become more complex when we are wanting to be in relationship with others. And and how we navigate that healing process is always really complex. Perhaps it's a lesson that you have already mastered, or perhaps if you're a system disruptor or a family circuit breaker or a healer, perhaps it's one which you are constantly deepening your understanding of yourself. So if that's you, I see you. As always, at the end of this episode, you'll find a guided soul inquiry for you to explore what this episode stirs up within you too. I know how precious your time is, so let's jump right into opening sacred space together. In the center of your heart, imagine a beautiful flower. Invite it to open petal by petal, revealing a light in the middle. This light is your ancient, intuitive, wise self. Really inviting it to step forward now. And together, acknowledging the keepers and custodians of the land where you are, where I am, known and unknown. Beautiful, let's begin. So today I want to talk about something that has really come out of a conversation with one of my girlfriends. And that is around, how do you know when to give up on healing a relationship with someone who has no intention of healing in that relationship? And I've actually seen this come up such a lot, particularly when it's like people that we want to continue to be in relationship with, but we find ourselves in these relationships where, you don't want it to end, but you can't keep banging your head against the wall in attempt to bring about healing, because healing needs to happen between the two people. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. It's a short but sweet episode, but I just wanted to share in case this is you. I think this is particularly for people within like a system, whether it's professional or personal or family or some other kind of system, like a constellation where you're playing your part in that constellation, and you're doing, from your perspective, you're part of the healing, but there's other pieces within the system or other parts within the system that don't seem to be doing the work alongside with you. And I think this is one of the most difficult things to do, to know when to effectively loosen your grip and just accept the way things are versus following through on the way you can see them potentially growing into, if you've been on the spiritual journey for a while, you'll know that you can't change anyone but yourself. Sometimes when we change ourselves, it frees up something within the system or within the relationship for that other person to go and change themselves, and then something new you can step into a new dynamic of relationship. But you can't force that change to happen. I did another episode on the many different multifaceted layers and threads of healing and the mysterious timing of healing. And I think this is particularly up right now, as so much is coming up, particularly from like an ancestral healing perspective, where we are really being asked to, or some of us being asked to acknowledge and look at these patterns that we have unconsciously been living out. And maybe there is a different way forward. And so, yeah, I think this is where the real challenge can come. And yeah, my invitation for us all is to, do our utmost best to play our part in healing whatever system that we're in, And I think I've done another episode on my perspective of healing. It's called Healing is Happening, and it's all about like, we don't have to be in this state of perfection to be healed. Healing is us being in a constant state of change and surrendering to that change as we go through it. So it's not about everything being, absolutely rosy all the time. But yeah, I think our invitation now in particular, particularly if you find yourself as like being called to be a cycle breaker within a system that you're in, do your utmost best. Obviously, do the work yourself, and then potentially invite others that you're in relationship with to join you in that work. But don't keep banging your head against the wall in attempt to change another, or in attempt to feel like, oh, maybe it'll work this time, maybe it'll work this time, because it can end up being really harmful and really activating and also just exhausting. So if you find yourself in a relationship with someone or within a system where it feels like you're banging your head against the wall over and over and over again, and it's not serving you, then consider that it's okay to loosen your grip. It doesn't mean that you have to completely leave the relationship. You might choose to. You don't have to necessarily. And I think that, and this is not to bypass the reality of the situation, but if you do find yourself in that situation and you want to stay in the relationship, something that's really helped me is the invitation to try and do your work spiritually. If you've tried to do it physically and it's just not working, because it takes two to tango, and no one wants to dance the dance that you're currently dancing, it's okay to loosen your grip. It's okay to let go and surrender. And yeah, in your meditation, in your practice, whatever it is, perhaps say the things that you want to say to them there. Perhaps just speak to them spiritually, send love to them spiritually, work on the system that you're in, whether it's an ancestral one or a professional one. Play your part in the constellation, but you don't have to always be doing it verbally in the physical if it just isn't working. So yes. So today's episode is for the cycle breakers, acknowledging you, and a permission slip to just go gently and pick your battles. All right. Soul Inquiry is a practice where we tap into our inner wise self. Today's Soul Inquiry prompt is, are you being called to step back from attempting to heal a relationship? And if so, what is one baby step you can take in that direction today? Let's share a deep breath together as we close this sacred space. I'm so grateful for you being here. If you'd like to keep returning to yourself and returning here with me, then please hit subscribe. If you love this podcast, leaving a review or a 5-star rating really helps others to find it too. And you can find show notes from today's episode over at rebeccacampbell.me/podcast. Thanks for returning.